In 1996, April of 1996, I had the incredible fortune of inviting Vicente Fox, who had just become governor of the state of Guanajuato, where my father is from, and I invited him to come speak. I had created a Center for U.S.-Mexico Studies at the University of Texas at Dallas, and he accepted. And I decided to take him to Austin to introduce him to the then governor of Texas, George W. Bush. And of course, I knew that both of them would be presidents in 3 years, and I had no idea. I had never met a governor before. I didn't know, I think I'd met the mayor of Fort Worth at that time, who was here, by the way. Mr. Bob Bolins, good to see you. I saw you over there, yes. And so here I am sitting with these two gentlemen, and they're talking about the relationship between Mexico and the United States and Guanajuato and Texas and what can be done. And I'm just watching this. We leave, and President, at that time, Governor Vicente Fox starts calling me to UT Dallas, and we all shake. The governor is calling, the governor is calling. And he starts sending me things to do. I didn't know that I was not working for him. And he decided I was going to open up offices throughout the United States, in Dallas and Chicago and Los Angeles, New York, for the state of Guanajuato, and I did. And then I started getting calls also from a lady called Condoleezza Rice or something like that, and a Karl Rove. I don't know who. I had no idea who these people were and why they were calling me. And would I help with the campaign of George W. Bush going to run for president? And then Vicente Fox invited me to participate in his campaign. I said, I write poetry. I teach at the University of Texas U.S.-Mexico literature courses, Carlos Fuentes, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. You know, I don't know about politics. And Vicente Fox says, I don't know much either. Let's do it. No, he didn't say that. That's not true. No, he did say that. And so I was honored that he invited me to participate at first in a very academic campaign. I had heard some guy on an airplane on one of these recorded messages or interviews, some guy named Dick Morris, and that was really good at that kind of thing. And so I found his number, and he decided to participate. And then Rob Allen from right over here called and wanted to participate. And suddenly I was in a real campaign for 3 years in Mexico, having no idea what I was doing. And an adventure began that has continued since that April of 1996. And I'm so honored that he, with his huge hands, I don't know if you've shook his hand yet, but huge hand, he just pulled me in to his dream for Mexico. And this boy from Fort Worth, Texas, yes, with a father that I love very much, who's here from Guanajuato, and my mother from Fort Worth, but he pulled me into his dream for Mexico and allowed me to participate in that incredibly difficult, incredibly dangerous dream of bringing democracy to Mexico. It has, of course, changed my life in so many respects to have been able to participate in that. Now, years have gone by, and I'm back in Fort Worth and all excited about the different things that I'm doing here. And a few months ago, he describes to me that he's going to be bringing presidents to the Centro Fox, former presidents from different countries and some current presidents. And I started thinking, Dallas-Fort Worth, they'll probably be flying through here as they go down to Guanajuato. Well, Mr. President, what about maybe doing something here on the way to the Centro Fox in Guanajuato? And he says, well, if you can do it, sure, Once again, he's pulling me in to his dreams. So I emailed Chancellor Boschini a Sunday afternoon. Chancellor, would you perchance be interested in having some presidents with President Fox? And I'm a froggy, as I don't know if you know or not. And he said, of course, Juan, the university is yours. And then I thought, well, I did participate in the mayor's campaign, Betsy Price, and I don't know how many votes I got for her, but maybe she'll take my call. And I emailed her, and she said, Juan, the city is yours. And then we started calling every one of you who are here tonight. it is really very difficult for me, my job tonight, because we're so grateful to really every single one who's here. And I'm not exaggerating. You have donated to this. You have believed in this dream. So now we have a series of 6 presidents coming to a wonderful academic event at TCU. This morning we had, I believe, over 700 students. I believe we closed it at 700, but had, I understand, a total of over 1,000, I think 1,100, that wanted to come. Incredible success. I'd like to thank the Fort Worth Club, because we changed it yesterday from 250 to 310 yesterday, and today we added to your tables 11 and 12 seats, as you probably noticed. Incredible success. I don't drink, but salud, please. Cheers to all of you. Gracias. May I go through the list of some of the wonderful people that are participating? Please be patient with me, because it is almost everyone that is present here. Of course, at TCU, Chancellor Boschini, and it would not have happened, of course, with my dear Provost Noel Donovan, that I've gotten to really like and admire very much. Thank you, sir. The TCU staff was just incredible this morning. Margaret Kelly and Tracy Seiler-Jones, just incredible what they were able to pull off this morning in such a short time. Vicente, as you know, is an oi. He wanted us to do this in August. I was able to stretch it to November. He believes in doing it now, and TCU was able to pull it off now. Congresswoman Kay Granger could not be here tonight, but she immediately stepped forward and said, yes, I will participate, and we'll find a way that you receive some of the first money. Of course, Mayor Betsy Price signed an agreement of understanding. It's done, Juan. The city is yours. Please bring President Fox. Jim Falk, and you'll be meeting him in a few moments, of the World Affairs Council. Just as you know, he does 90 of these deals. In this room just a few days ago, he had Condoleezza Rice, an incredible job, and it's such a great honor to get to know you better. I stood him up twice, okay? I've never done that in my life, and I'm still apologized to him. We love you, and of course, Rachel Vogel and Jocelyn Lancaster and your whole marketing team. This is a success because of everything that you have done. Who doesn't know Rosita Navejar? I mean, she of course, with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, really helped us. She's not able to be here tonight, but Jay Chapa, I know, is representing her, and we love her so much. With the Fort Worth Sister Cities, we found immediately, of course, kinship there. They're doing a wonderful, wonderful job. And May Ferguson, yes, give them a hand, please. Mary Kane, who is the CEO of the Sister Cities International, flew down from Washington today just to be here with us and meet with President Fox this morning. American Airlines said, yes, you've got the tickets. And after what happened yesterday and today, God bless them. And they called me and said, Juan, before I called them, and we were shaking, I got a phone call, said, you still have the tickets, Juan? So, God bless them. Interceramics. This gentleman right over here has done, I don't know, it may be that there are 2 presidents in Mexico because of this gentleman. Interceramic has supported every project we've had. When I needed money to pay, and these are some of the secrets of the campaign, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but for a Dick Morris, for a Rob Allen, the money would appear. We're just so grateful to Interceramic. We're grateful to Lala, Pastor Morris of Gateway Church had a wonderful dinner with Vicente Fox, and they both agreed that what Mexico needs is the spiritual values, and we love so much Pastor Morris and love so much my wonderful church of Gateway, and they have supported this event. The Amon Carter Foundation, of course, said, we're in, we support, and they have done so in a great manner. The Texas Credit Union League, where's Dick Ensweiler? Dick? Back over there, Dick Ensweiler, I hope you know, an incredible champion of the credit unions. He participated, by the way, in Vicente Fox's transition team. He went down to Mexico and helped Mexico reorganize the whole credit union movement in Mexico. And it has bloomed, it has flourished, and it is very strong in Mexico. And Mexico owes it especially to one man, that is Dick Answeiler. Thank you for supporting this dinner tonight. The Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport has supported us, not only with, of course, treating Vicente Fox in such a presidential manner, but also with a table, and I'm glad you're putting up with my brother, so I don't have to. My brother Francisco Hernandez over there. Haynes and Boone, of course, immediately stood up and supported us. Morgan Building and Spas, Anthony Finch and Yadira Cepeda, and I'm sorry I'm going a little fast, but I know you want to get to hear the president. Lockheed Martin Corporation, thank you so much. You always support us in our events. Citibank, Citibank, thank you really very much. Alberto Cardenas is not here tonight, but he was the first one. He just sent a check and said, I can't be there, but I love what Vicente Fox does, and I'm with you from Houston. Baylor University is here, and Regent University is here. We thank you so much for your support. We will go to your universities very, very soon. Pete Guerin, thank you so much. And thank you, please, to the Bass family and to all the people that are with you. You said we will make this a success, and you gave us really the excitement that day that we sat down with you, and I thank you so much for supporting us. The Worthing Hotel is giving us the best rooms they've got here for each one of the presidents that are coming, and we thank them. Fusion Productions with Todd Sims is filming this. Fusion does films with some very important and TV programs and major films have done by Fusion, and they're donating this for Vicente Fox and for the whole series. Johnson of my tocayo, John Hernandez, who keeps getting into trouble because they think that all the bad things I do, they think that he has done them. John Hernandez donated the wonderful flyers that you have and the brochures, and we definitely appreciate that. Brassfield Winery sent the wine all the way from California, Mr. President? Is that, the wine came from California? President Fox has still not forgiven me that at my daughter's wedding I didn't have wine and liquor. And so he said, if we're having a dinner there, Juan, the first thing, you are having wine. And he got it donated, and so we do appreciate that you, many do appreciate that you got that. Am I missing any of the donors, please? Julie? Am I good? Oh, okay, thank God. I know that those were a lot, and so many of you are donors. Thank you very, very much. God bless you. We have created a statewide Fort Worth host committee, if you will. I'm serving it on it. Sal Espino, I know you love Sal Espino, our Hispanic on the council, and a great leader in the city, someone that I greatly admire and will support in everything that he wants to do. Rosa Navejar, already mentioned, Dr. Carlos Vasquez of the Fort Worth Independent the ISD, Juan Rangel, Sergio de Leon, Manuel T. Valdez, of course, May Ferguson, of course, of the Fort Worth Cities, I already mentioned her, Irene Chase of the Fort Worth Sister Cities, Rice Tilley, of course, who supports all of the projects related to the World Affairs Council, Trey Newton of the Hispanic Republicans of Texas, and by the way, also runs HLA, the Hispanic Leadership Alliance, and George Antuna, who's here, and George P. Bush, and yours truly were the founders of two organizations, Hispanic Republicans of Texas and the Hispanic Leadership Alliance. Don't get upset with me, Sal, because I said Republican. It's okay. I want to mention to you that Vicente Fox has agreed that a percentage of the money that is raised at this dinner will go for scholarships for Hispanics right here in North Texas. Thank you. I've already mentioned several times, of course, Inter-Ceramic, but Victor, really, Victor, we just can't say enough about you. Victor Almeida, let's give him a special handshake. Martha and Whitney Hyder, we love them dearly. As you know, they are linked to Guanajuato. They have supported this event. Alberto Cárdenas, Domingo Garcia, the attorney from Dallas, a great friend of mine and a great supporter. Dick Ensweiler, I've mentioned. Jose de Jesus Legaspi, over on the south side with the wonderful mall that he has over there. Steve Murrin, where's our Cowtown mayor? ¿Dónde está Steve? Hermano, no lo veo. Acá está. We all love Steve Murrin. Thank you for your support. Julie John Cox has worked to make this happen. If one person has really done the work, it's Julie. Julie, stand up. Eh? Julie ran Betsy's campaign and ran this campaign, so we know who makes the winners. Finally, I will mention Yadira Lisette Cepeda of Texas Air Systems, Anthony Finch, Judson Cook, Leticia Benitez. ¿Dónde está Leticia? Everyone met Leticia as you were coming in. Young Hispanic businesswoman, just a ball of fire, has been a great help. Greg Wordle of BNSF. Thank you, Greg, for your help. Dana Diaz of the Fort Worth Independent School District. By the way, we have Walter Dansby here, who's the interim superintendent of the Fort Worth ISD. Thank you, sir, for serving our community. Olga Naranjo, Columba Gonzalez, William Busby, I just mentioned, Morgan Costello. I would like I have finished, by the way. You don't have to clap, please. I would just like to mention that my wonderful wife Estela is here, who I fell in love with when I was 14 years old, and she puts up with me going to the adventures to Mexico and Guatemala and things like this, and I thank you so much and love you so much. I couldn't do it really if you wouldn't give me permission. Mayor Price, would you please join me up here?
Well, hello, everybody, or shall I say howdy, because President Fox, this is Texas, and we say howdy in Texas. Howdy, y'all. We're so glad Juan and his team have done such a nice job putting this together, and it was so fun to have everybody, and I know today's turnout at TCU was incredible. We're looking forward to the presidential series. We have such a growing population of Hispanics, and it's important that we reach out. Mexico is our neighbor. We're going to develop our trade with them. I'm looking forward to working with President Fox and indeed to working with all of y'all. And thank you so much for being here tonight. And I'm going to keep it short because it's not me they want to hear from, Juan. It's President Fox. But thank you, everyone, for what you do for Fort Worth.
The greatest mayor, the greatest. We love you, Mayor. Councilman Espino, would you please join me? Espino was born in Mexico, came to the United States, came to Fort Worth, and has just taken this city to greatness. The whole north side and south side love him. I personally admire him. When I grow up, I want to be just like Sal. No, we really respect you. The only Hispanic councilman that we have here in Fort Worth, and you're just doing great things, my friend. Would you please address them?
Well, first of all, bienvenidos, welcome. It is indeed an honor to be here. I know we're going to hear about this foundation for the future. Fort Worth really is an international city. We prove that time and time again. Indeed, we sit at the crossroads of a foundation for the future based on education, based on a new economy, and based, I think, on transportation mobility. I have been blessed to receive an outstanding public education from Fort Worth ISD. I'm so pleased to see students from Trimble Tech and Arlington Heights, our wonderful public schools. Because of the outstanding public school education I received, I was able to attend TCU on scholarship and SMU Law School. And as the world becomes flat, as New York Times author Friedman lays out, we become more and more of a global economy. And as the mayor takes off to the Far East, as the European Union wrestles with challenges, let us not forget about the North American market and the market of the Americas. After all, when we think of America, it goes all the way from Canada all the way south to Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And there is a lot of markets there for all of us to come together. And we look forward to hearing from Presidente Fox about that vision. This gentleman here was the first one to talk at the world level about this market of the Americas, and it's un honor, un placer estar aquí con usted, Presidente. Thank you, and God bless you.
Jim Falk, would you please join me? Jim Falk, for many years has been
we don't
participating.
need that.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, he
But
is the
there's
CEO. Yes, sir.
There's one introduction you didn't do that I'm going to do.
Okay, you do it.
Because one of the things that makes our economy really go, of course, you did mention Jeff Fagan and the airport, but we also have a dynamic international diplomatic community here. And Paula Caldwell, I know you are somewhere in the audience. Where are you, Paula? Paula Caldwell is the Consul General of Canada. And in our region, we have nearly 30 diplomats who serve their countries and really make a difference here, and we're so grateful. Let me just say,
we also have the consul from Mexico. The consul was not able to come, but he also, the deputy consul, Jonathan Chai Auerbach.
Aha, you have
Mexico.
the notes here.
Yes, I do.
All right, good. But let me just say very quickly how pleased we are at the World Affairs Council to work on this project. And as I mentioned to our board of directors about 2 weeks ago when the president and Mrs. Fox were kind enough to come, what we're excited about is we're going to be able to pick up the papers and look at the wire services and see Fort Worth, Texas, this leader said this. And that's very important. Thanks for the opportunity. And I want to hear President Fox.
Yes. He's getting back at me for standing up of him before. Martita Fox, thank you so much. I won't ask you to come up. If the president asks you to come up, I know we would love to hear from you. But if someone made this man president, I watched it. It was Martita Fox, the First Lady. Give her a big hand, please. Mr. President, would you please join me up here, por favor? It is a great honor for me. He needs no introduction. The man who brought democracy to Mexico, Vicente Fox.
Gracias, gracias. Bon appetit, buen provecho. It's a real pleasure for Matt and myself to be here together with all of you. And Juan made all the recognitions that we are obliged to do because it's been great, the welcome and the support we have gotten for this presidential series. I think it's important that you know that at the same time that former leaders are going to be presenting themselves here, they will go next day to Centro Fox in the state of Guanajuato, the first presidential library ever built outside of the United States. And that library is a place of leadership. It's an academic think tank place which has a very strong commitment with all of Latin America to promote freedom and democracy, to promote good, accountable governance through developing public policies that we take to governments, either in Mexico or anywhere in Latin America. It is also a place that wants to be the champion on defending market economy with responsibility, which is still threatened all throughout Latin America, in places like Venezuela, like Nicaragua, Ecuador, Bolivia. We are totally convinced that only by putting together private sector and public sector, we can generate the strong economies that we need in Latin America to generate the jobs and the wealth. There is a misunderstanding frequently exposed that governments create wealth, that governments create jobs. My belief is that only investment, that only entrepreneurship, that only private sector, those create jobs and those create wealth. So this is what we do at Centro Fox, is this little place on this ranch in San Cristobal in the state of Guanajuato, where we, the family, have been there for 5 generations now. After my grandfather migrated from Cincinnati, Ohio, without a penny in his pocket, down to Mexico, looking for his American dream. He found his dream right there in this place in Guanajuato. To us, it's like our own Tara of Gone with the Wind. It's a place that we love. It's a place where we decided to construct this library. It's a beautiful place, beautiful infrastructure. It's a piece of architecture that puts together the old 200-year-old building, which was the old barn and dairy stable at the ranch, with the modern construction using concrete, glass, steel. You're all invited to come. Matt and I will be more than happy to welcome you there so that you learn about this center, this library, so that you can enjoy the best enchiladas and mole that you ever tasted. And I know we have competition here, but still, I think that the best mole is right there in San Cristobal. Also, of course, a tequila waiting for all of you. And every time I make these public invitations, Martha gets nervous. But we've been responding to a lot of people that has come to visit us. This year we'll have a traffic through Centro Fox of over 200,000 people. And all of them will always listen from us the message. You're a leader, we're all leaders, we're leaders all the time of our life, and we never end up constructing our leadership. And we bring in, every day, 500 kids from rural communities, from public schools, from humble families that we pick up on a first-class bus. We bring them to Centro Fox, and we give them a 5.5-hour program trying to change their minds, making sure that we upgrade their self-esteem, that we change what they are actually thinking, that they will have as a destiny to be migrants or to work on the construction industry or to work on the harvesting fields. We tell them that's not your destiny. Your destiny is much higher than that. And we can build that destiny together with you. And I take advantage of this opportunity to say hello here to Lupita, to Pedro, to all those wonderful Mexican people that are here in the state of Texas, that are here in the United States, that are here working with loyalty, with efficiency, with quality, that they're building together with the U.S. society, this great nation. And they are part of this nation, they're loyal, and they are my friends. I love them. They are my heroes, like my grandfather, because migrants is a very special cast of people. They are always struggling, they are always striving to get the best for them and their families. So to them, my respect, my love, and my admiration. Juan mentioned that we have purpose by putting together this kind of events. The purpose is to bring Central Fox Foundation together with the Hispanic Leader Foundation to this place so that we stay here to do our job, which is, number one, serving those Hispanic, those Mexicans that are here, to be by their side, to give them the same programs we do in Mexico to those kids, and to make sure that they have success in their venture here. So that's why, yes, we're going to use the money for scholarships, for education, with the conviction that is the only way, through education, that you can change a nation in one generation. So we're here to commit ourselves to work and build that future for the people that we're planning to serve. I just came back from Haiti. I decided to go there on my own free will. Nobody invited me, but I came 2 days ago. And I knew President Clinton was there, and without an appointment, I presented myself with President Martellini, the president from Haiti. And I just came to offer myself as a soldier in the task of reconstructing that nation and putting the modest experience that we have and the successful programs that we develop in Mexico to serve the Haitian people and to try to go hand by hand in building a better future. It's really impressive that we can have 2 hours from here, a place like that. I mean, the leading nation in the world, the largest economy in the world, the wealthiest economy in the world cannot admit, cannot accept to have a place like that. And that's why I admire President Clinton, because he's been there investing his time, his talent in trying to cope with the huge challenge that we all have there. We should never accept to have neighbors that are not as successful as we are. In this case, Haiti, but also the case of Mexico. We must keep working like partners. We must make sure that we reawaken NAFTA, that we, through that most powerful tool, increase our partnership and increase the capacities, the competitiveness of North America. The challenge is big. This shift from west to east is already happening, and it's moving. Not long from now, the Chinese economy is going to be larger than the US economy. And the forecasts are that the shift will consolidate. And we must question ourselves in North America. What are going to be the prevailing values, ideology, if the shift is carried on? What are the values of the West going to be? Where are the founding fathers' value and philosophy is going to go? Today, the Western world is in crisis. Today, Europe is going through huge problems. They seem to have touched ceiling, that after 60 years of success, now they don't know where to go. The leader seems to have lost the leadership. Europe was constructed on the philosophy of one for all and all for one. And they became the region with the largest per capita income in the world. And they become the best distribution of income, only equaled by Asia. And they have shared opportunities with all citizens, nations, and economy. They must find the way out, and they have to find the way out by keeping themselves as one for all and all for one. They have to solve the problem of Greece, Spain, Italy, or whatever else comes next week. Sometimes we get to be so proud of what we do that we forget about others that can teach us some lessons. I don't know why Europe is not looking at Latin America today. Latin America that went crisis after crisis all along the 20th century. Mammoth crises like the ones we had in Mexico back in 1994. And it's difficult to accept that we all Mexicans, in just one night, we lost half of our patrimony. The poor, the humble, the middle class, and the rich, through a more than 300% devaluation in just one night. We thought there was not going to be future for Mexico. We thought that was it, and we had to start all over again. But a visionary leader came with an answer, with a solution. A visionary leader that had courage and that said, you have to get out of trouble. Here is $50 billion to support you and to make sure that you solve the crisis you're in. And this leader was President Clinton. And the loan was $50 billion. No due date to pay back. And Mexico paid back in 1 year and a half the whole of the $50 billion. And so Mexico came back with a strong, dynamic economy. Europe has to do something similar. And time is running out. And they keep discussing. It's incredible that political leaders don't have the courage to take the decisions that have to be taken at the right moment. And where I feel more disappointed is on the private sector, on the business sector. I was in London about 3 weeks ago. They were eager to learn what would I suggest to be done in Europe. They're eager to invite people to bring in messages of what has to be done. They're waiting for the politicians to take the decision. It's incredible that the private sector is sitting on the back seat and not on the pilot's seat. And the message is, we have to be there when you construct nations, where you build the scenarios, where you, the private sector, where you investors are going to create wealth, are going to create jobs. And then we look at the great leader of the Western world. This nation that after World War became the undisputable leader of the Western world, that had the energy, the values, the courage to lead the world through decades, building up economies, building up trading blocks and agreements, and now the leader, same as Europe, this nation seems to have touched ceiling. That the roof is not letting this nation to see beyond, and it's losing its leadership. It's incredible the messages we get outside of this nation. This conflict between political parties, this never-ending discussion without one accepting the capacities, the ideas of the other. And in the meantime, the nation is suffering, the economy is suffering, unemployment is growing, and the leadership is not present in the different regions of the world. I would urge this nation to come to solutions. Democracy has to deliver. Democracy has to build majorities, majorities that take decisions, decisions that have to be done on time, or they will be late to be real, productive decisions. I hope pretty soon this nation will reach those decisions and will really reflect about deficits. We learn in Latin America that you cannot survive on the long term if you have large deficits in your economy. We learn in Latin America that you cannot indebt yourselves over and beyond what this generation can pay back, because otherwise the burden will be on the next generation. All of that we learn in Latin America. And we learn to work with much more effective governments and democracy that deliver. If you see the figures and the facts, in the last 10 years, right before this latest crisis, Latin America was growing at a 6% a year rate as a region, all of us together. And in those 10 years, we were able to reduce poverty by 18%, and to reduce poverty in the case of Mexico by 33%. So now we have 33% more middle class that consumes, and that helps the economy to grow. Latin America will be one of the regions to keep an eye on this 21st century. After we got rid of dictators, now we're on the path for growth, for reduction of poverty, for the creation of human capital. I know we're late. I know why we have so many people migrating into this great nation. But you will see this happening on this 21st century. And maybe now the question would be where this nation is going to get the energy, the youth, the quality of labor to respond to the growing elderly population, to respond to the needs of the retirement plans and the funds needed to sustain pension plans. Who is going to nourish the elderly? Who is going to be around to keep this economy growing and competitive? And that's only one way to go. We have to reawaken NAFTA. We have to really commit with the partnership we created 14 years ago. It's been a great partnership. It has generated the largest trade balance in the world. We trade between United States, Canada, and Mexico more than all of Latin America does together. And maybe you don't know that Mexico buys imports from this nation over 250 billion US dollars worth of goods, products, and services. And that's more of what Italy, France, Britain, and Germany do together. We are an accountable partner of this nation. We're part of your success. If we keep looking at the future together, we're going to build that future and compete against the East. We have that capacity when we work together. Recently, the century is about events. It's about trends. Decade is about people. It's about leaders. And this is what we need today. And this is why we are inviting these former leaders to come to this great city of Fort Worth, because we have to listen to them. We have to discuss with them what's going on in other parts of the world, how we can build together that better world. Because at the very end, the 21st century, people will keep working as usual. Maybe we will go to wars. Maybe we will make mistakes. Poverty is going to be around all the time. And tragedy or good luck will be present. The only way to change those things that are going to happen in this century is by exercising leadership. Is by taking the front seat, the pilot's seat. Because the responsibility of business leaders is not only to create wealth, it's not only to generate jobs, it's much more than that. We're obliged to construct the scenarios where we're going to invest and where we are going to create that wealth. It's even more than that, a social responsibility. It's making sure that we equal opportunities to everybody, like the founding fathers established. Let me just throw two provoking ideas more. One has to do with Mexico. Mexico is in trouble right now. We have problems. But at the very end, they are not our problems. Violence, crime, and drugs is not our problem. We just happen to be in between those that produce the drugs on the south, the Colombias, Venezuelas, Ecuador, Bolivias, and those who consume the drugs in the north, United States and Canada. Again, if you look at the figures, we don't consume drugs, not even 0.1% per capita than what is done here in this nation. We don't produce drugs, maybe except marijuana in Mexico, but we don't produce cocaine, heroin, and all the rest. Even in marijuana, figures show that we don't produce more than what is produced in the state of California. Which, by the way, that's where we got this great wine, a donation. A donation by Mr. Bradsfield, which is a very good friend of Vicente Fox. So we just happen to be in between, and we're trapped. We have to get out of that trap which is destroying our future and destroying our nation. Figures again, second quarter this year, 35% decrease on foreign investment. Third quarter, 18% decrease in foreign investment. The decrease on tourism is incredible. The flow of Mexican talent coming out of Mexico, it's also incredible. More and more families are leaving the country. More and more students are not coming back once they finish studying here or elsewhere. We need to do something. We have to get out of that trap, and we're going to do it. This is where I put the second idea, democracy. Democracy has incredible capacity to bring back hope, to confront ideas, to develop projects and programs. And we're right in front of a new election in Mexico for next year. And I am absolutely convinced that that process will yield new ideas, new, fresh people in government to tackle the problem where we are. It's mandatory that we solve that issue. And I'm absolutely convinced that it will happen in the very close future. We also have other problems like the reforms that we have to carry on with, oil and energy, fiscal reform and income to government, and labor reform. Just touching upon energy and oil. Very few people know that we're 9 years away where Mexico will not have one more barrel of oil to export. Just 9 years away. And the nation depends on 40% of its budget, federal, state, and local governments. 40% comes from oil. So it's something that we have to solve. And the way to solve is to open the sector for private investment, to associate public and private investment. Also, same thing we have to do on the tax reform and the labor reform. But I know Mexico will come along. Mexico will solve its problems. Mexico will come back to be the leader in Latin America. But we need to reawaken NAFTA. We need this friendship, this partnership, and this neighborhood that we have between United States and Mexico. That will help us to move much faster on bringing the solutions. President Nixon, after President Roosevelt, repeated the same concept. And this I end up with. Only those who are in the arena know about sacrifice, know about worrisome, know about the efforts you have to do to succeed. Only those who are on the arena will enjoy the fruit of success, will enjoy triumph, and only those who are on the arena will at the very end have not only the sense of purpose, but will also have the satisfaction sharing the Olympus with those who, very few of them, have a place in history. So it's time to act, it's time to commit, it's time to be leaders and partners. Thank you.
You know, Mr. President, this audience had great expectations, and you certainly met everyone. I know that I speak for everyone here. There is no question that if tonight is the example for over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, we here in Fort Worth are indeed very blessed for what you're bringing to our community. We have time for a few questions. Will you?
Please.
We have 2 microphones, but let me just ask the first one. You've raised 2 very important issues, indeed challenges. One is immigration reform, and the other one pertains to the drug trafficking. What gives you any sense of optimism that the U.S. Congress is going to be able to act on either one of these issues?
I better put my expectations on Mexican Congress. No, let me tell you,
And we'll raise the microphone for you now.
I highly respect President Bush, 43. We worked with very strong cohesiveness, friendship. We only had one difference that had to do with Iraq. But we worked on this commitment. Unfortunately, when we were about to have a solution, September the 11th came and priorities changed. Later, a year or more, we came back to the issue. And then President Bush told me, folks, be patient. We're going into an election right now, and I cannot deal with that issue because it will affect the end results of that election. So I was patient, and I waited. Later, 1 year more, I said, President, now it's time that we tackle this issue. And I'm talking about the migration reform. And he said, well, right now, there's many other problems. Priorities are assigned somewhere else. And at the very end, the 6 years went by. After our first and only commitment that we had and came out from the summit meeting in San Cristobal when we were both starting our administration, we came out with only one commitment, that we would go for an integral migration reform. Then I listened to President Obama campaigning, same thing. He committed that he would tackle this issue and that it will be solved. It's been now 3 years and nothing has happened. I don't know where the answer is, but it has to come. We have to sit down, analyze, and at the very end understand that migration is energy, is enriching, is an asset to all nations. This nation has been built by migrants all along. Anybody sitting in this table, sooner or later, looking backwards, will have a migrant heritage. We have to value correctly what this means. And I'm not for open borders, I'm not for disorder, I'm for the use of wisdom, the building of a framework that will make this issue a win-win situation that we need to meet the future and to meet the challenge coming from the East. When I look around the world, what I see is that all nations have learned to administrate some difficult issues if you understand that there is not a total solution to those problems. Drug will exist forever, like alcohol, like many other things that are bad to our health or to our future. What happens when one cargo of drug crosses the border? Who takes it from San Diego or from McAllen or from wherever up to the markets, to Seattle, to Washington, to New York, to Dallas, to everywhere? Who does that? Why is not stopped? Why the job has to be done by Mexico? It's, if you go to Spain, to Paseo La Castellana, every other door and every single bar is selling drugs. And it's same as forbidden and as a crime as it is consuming drugs in this nation. And you have a $50 billion US worth of market by consuming drugs. So the question is it justifiable, a all-out war against these issues? Are we really going to be able to finish with it? Or we should rely on a moral, ethical, and political principle. We are created free human beings. And that's what makes the difference between other creatures created in this world. We're created to have free choice. God himself at paradise put the forbidden apple in a tree. And he said, you should not have this apple, but it's your free will if you wanna take it. But then you will meet the consequences of it. So at the very end, prohibitions don't work. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in Chicago. Abortion today is not prohibited anymore. It's in most of our constitutions now, letting people to decide on their own on that issue. Marriages among people of the same sex. Just 5 years ago, nobody could ever think about that happening. And now it's on the Mexican Constitution and it's on many laws around the same thing. Maybe we are in front of the last prohibition that we still keep. And we just happen to have selected drugs for that. Portugal decided to legalize 10 years ago. And there is a report from the Cato Institute in Washington, D.C., very reliable, respected. And it shows that after 10 years, drug consumption decreased by 25% in Portugal. So we have to start thinking about this. The last Gallup poll in the United States shows that 50% of American citizens would agree with legalizing marijuana to begin with. The referendum in California showed a 44% support. Presidents like Lagos, like Cardoso, like Cedillo from Mexico, intellectuals like Carlos Fuentes, institutions like the United Nations now are promoting the idea of sitting down and debating this so difficult issue. But at the very end, the question is, why Mexico? I mean, we are the only nation in the world with these killings. We don't deserve what we have. And I don't know if the day will come that a Mexican president will tell this nation, it's your problem, man. You hold the cargos in the border. You do it. You confront the cartels. So it's a complicated issue. But I trust so much democracy. Mexico is getting into this electoral process. It already started. And democracy always brings refreshing ideas, brings new leadership, brings new projects and programs, brings the opportunity to evaluate what has been done right, what is being done wrong. And in these next months, I'm sure that Mexico will come up with some answers to get out of this trap where we are and that we don't deserve to be in it. And to tell you that Guanajuato, I don't say is the safest place in the world, but certainly the chances are of you getting into a problem of violence in Guanajuato are much less than having an accident on Highway 1 here in the United States. The problem is that it's very visible. It's bloody. It's violent. But the frequency is not that much. And this might be the purpose of the cartels, to frighten people and to create that atmosphere that she pretty well described. And that's the problem. At the very end, let me tell you how I graphically explain this. I think that, like the Aladdin lamp, the genius came out and spread all over Mexico. Graphically, what we have to do is get the genius back in the bottle and close the bottle. The killings will continue. The homicides will continue, like in this nation, like in many cities of this nation. The drug consumption will continue. The drug production will continue. Look at the case of Colombia. At the very end, their big success is that they were able to disappear what was extremely visible, what was bloody, what was violent. But Colombia keeps producing the same level of drugs, keeps exporting drugs. And that's the part of the problem that we have in Mexico, the drug coming from Colombia. So it's very difficult to say this, but in a way you have to administrate like you do here. Tolerance, closing your eyes, and let things happen on an orderly way. Going to a holy war against this, putting the power in the whole of the resources of the state on this will not work. And maybe it's because I might be wrong, but I don't believe in Machiavelli saying that you gain respect by imposing power, by imposing fear. I believe in Loyola, the saying that he says you gain respect by love. You gain respect by dialogue and understanding among people. And we need to do that. Imagine, and I know I'm extending myself a little bit, but 50,000 kids have been killed. 15 to 25-year-old kids. Another 50,000 that killed them. And it's estimated between 50,000 and maybe 100,000 more that are working for the cartels for a salary that goes from $500 a month to maybe $1,000 a month.
And for those people who have been killed, what period of time?
The 50,000 in 5 years. The problem here is, and it's clear, all those 200 kids were not born criminals. They do not have criminality in their genes. What happened is some along the way they lost the path. And how that happened? Maybe it's because the father decided to come to the state to make some money to feed their family. And so the women is behind, working all day, carrying the water from the water source on a cántaro and bringing it to their kids, trying to get food for their kids, no time to educate. And, or maybe those kids wanted to stay in school and they didn't get the scholarship. Or very possibly those kids tried to look for a job and they didn't get it. So they went to work for the cartels. There is this man in San Diego, California, Chris. He's maybe one of the greatest men I have met. Less than 30 years today. He was a gang member. He was a drug addict. He was a criminal. And like St. Paul, he fell from the horse. And he reacted and decided to change his life. And he changed. And then he decided to create this foundation called Reality Changers. And his program is, he started going himself to the gangs, the kids that he knew, and invited them to change their life. And he questioned them. He said, "Are you happy with what you're doing?" And the answer was, "No, but I don't have an option." Do you want an option? Do you want to get out of what you're doing today? Yes, I want. What would you like to be? Well, I would love to play with the Dallas Cowboys. Or I would love to go to UT or TCU. Or I would like to be in high school. And he said, "Is that what you want?" "Yes." "Okay, I can arrange that for you." And so this Chris has a full warehouse back here of scholarships granted by many different universities, has a huge amount of jobs to offer to kids granted by the business community on his area. or he has the proposal of the football teams or the basketball teams or the school of music of some university, that they would accept these kids. And he's writing a book, and what he states there is a stage in life from 12 to 18 years old where it's very risky to pass through that you're really on the loose rope, like in the circus, the equilibristas. And usually, what we tell them is, watch out! Look at what happens with drugs. Look at the gang, they're gonna kill you. You're gonna have problems. Don't do this, don't do that. And he says, no, you just have to tell them, look at what you want to be tomorrow. Decide what you want to do, and I'll be with you. And you will go through the loose rope without falling down, because you're looking ahead, you're looking in front. And that's his philosophy, and it's working. He's gotten dozens, hundreds of kids out. We're partnering with him now in Guanajuato. We're starting in January. He will personally come, and the challenge is, I told him, okay, you're not going to pull out now kids that are in gangs or that are drug addicts. You're going to go after the cartel members, those who have been hired by the cartels. And you and I, let's put together salaries of over 1,000 so that we can compete. Let's have jobs for them. Let's have opportunities for them. And I think it will work. It's long term. But anyway, it's difficult to see how are we going to get out of this trap, but we must try anything. The cost to the nation is too much. Many businessmen here. I worked for Coca-Cola more than 15 years, marketing. And I learned there that the brand name is the best asset that that company has. Once you affect that name, once you lose the respect to it, you better get rid of it and build up a new brand. We cannot change the name Mexico. We cannot go for a new brand. We have to save the one we have. So we have to move fast and bring solutions. The least worst thing that we have created as societies is democracy. It's giving everybody the opportunity to commit with building the nation, giving everybody the opportunity to decide who's going to lead the nation. And that's the part I question, because you went through the cycle of first, electoral democracy, second, participative democracy with very strong citizens' responsibility, and thirdly, a democracy that delivers. And that's why you moved along this nation for 200 years, not questioning democracy, but nourishing, promoting the idea of democracy, and always trying to extend it to the rest of societies and citizens in the world. But that's why I question today, how come a 200-year-old mature democracy cannot bring in consensus, cannot reach solutions, cannot be cohesive? And yes, hope is being lost because democracy has to deliver. Otherwise, people get disappointed. Imagine in our democracies in Latin America, 10-year-old democracies, 15-year-old. We got rid of dictators up until the very end of last century, very recently. So we do have and are at a very high risk. So more than ever, we have to nourish, we have to promote, we have to defend our democracy.
Muchas gracias. Buenas noches. Buen provecho.
Thank you very, very much. Let me tell you that on February the 15th, Vicente Fox will return to be here, and he will be bringing with him the former Canadian Prime Minister Chrétien. February 15th, please put it on your calendars. I know that both Vicente Fox and the Prime Minister Chrétien will challenge us, will stretch us, we can debate, and it'll be a very, very important time, and we will also fundraise both for your wonderful programs at the Centro Fox and for scholarships here in North Texas. Thank you very much, Mr. President.